Good evening. I will call the meeting to order at this time. If you will, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, I'll ask Councilman Travis Scott if he will lead us in the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come tonight, Lord, to do business on this community that we're so proud of. Pray that you'll give us leadership, wisdom, and guidance to make the decisions that benefit the people that live here, those that serve here, and call this home. Father, those that are sick or ill in the community, pray that you'll be with them and bless them. And Father, a special prayer over our children as they're out of school during this time. Keep them safe and let them have a joyful summer, prepare them for the next education season. We ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, gentlemen, you have the agenda in front of you. There are a few known changes to the agenda that I will review. One is removal from the consent agenda, item number 2, which is the special event, the church event. It's item number 2 under consent agenda. Also under consent agenda, item number 9, consideration and request for approval to allow employees to donate sick time, item number 9. Then item 13, consideration and request for approval to install an additional stop sign at Hood Street. And those are the things that should be removed from the consent agenda. And then item 12, updated budget amendments. Is that a removal, or do we have those at our place? So that just means that for item 12, we've got some updated budget amendments come under there. And then we also need to add to the agenda a closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318, .11, Section A6. Are there any other additions or deletions or corrections that you guys propose? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right. So I do see one special guest out in the audience I'd like to just say hello to, Commissioner Patrick Harris. Welcome this evening. I don't know if you'd like to say anything. You're welcome to, or are you here on a business on the agenda?
I'm here as a citizen of the business on the agenda.
Okay. Well, welcome, sir. You know that you're always welcome. So thank you for all that you do for Smithfield and also for the entire county. So thank you for being with us this evening. Yep. All right. So now we will move on to our presentations. Our first presentation is a proclamation declaring July as Parks and Recreation Month in the town of Smithfield. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right. Gary, you want to come up? Anyone else you have? They're all working. That's right. I hear you. Hey, I did come by the Little League field on my way here. There was a packed house there. So. All right. So if you will, please bear with me as I read this proclamation designating July as Parks and Recreation Month in the town of Smithfield. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the town of Smithfield, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health, wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health and well-being. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our state, and whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our state and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the United States House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas the town of Smithfield recognizes the benefits derived from Parks and Recreation resources. Now, I, Andy Moore, the mayor of the town of Smithfield, along with the members of the town council, do hereby proclaim the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month in the town of Smithfield. Gary, thank you very much. Everything that your staff does, and I'm sure the council echoes this. We have an outstanding Parks and Recreation program. Your staff is second to none, and the amenities that we offer to our citizens for a town this size rivals anywhere in the state, anywhere in the country. I mean, anywhere in the world, really. We are very fortunate, and we offer programs for all ages, from small children all the way up to the aging adults. And it's so important to keep active, right? Even in your older years. So I'm very thankful that we have a staff and we have a council that supports these programs and that we're able to offer those. But I know you guys put a lot of time in, a lot of time on the weekends, and a lot of time at night. And I just want to say thank you. Do you want to say anything, sir? All right, thank you. I think you may want a picture right quick. Yeah, get out and play, exactly.
Smile, dude.
All right, we'll move on then to our first public hearing. It's ZA-23-06. The applicant is requesting an amendment to Unified Development Ordinance, Article 2, 10, and Appendix A. The amendment will update existing performance standards, clarify vague wording, and break up large blocks of text into subsections and update definitions. All right. At this time, do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So this section, or this ordinance change is really dealing with our performance standards. I had alluded to this for probably a couple of years about getting this section of the code updated. It's really the section that really deals with new development more than any other part of the code. And what's held us back is the need to update the engineering standards, which is a kind of a sister document that is deals with like the street design standards and that sort of thing. And those regulations or those standards were maybe 30-plus years old and didn't really correspond well with the current ordinances. And so they really needed to be updated together. And that document is in the works, nearly complete. And by the time I actually request an action from this council, I hope to have that in your packet as well. So my intent tonight is to just maybe start out and go through the first section, really. And, I can quit whenever the council wants me to quit, because I don't want to bite off too much at one time with the changes. But I want to give you a chance to ask questions, and I'll just, ask questions at any point in the process. And if you want me to stop, we can stop, and we can pick it up next month. So this more or less is a summary of just what I said, but we're dealing with Article 2. Article 2 is kind of this leftover section that has kind of a mishmash of regulations in it, and some of them are actually performance standards and really belong in Article 10, where the performance standards currently are. So that's why Article 2 has been part of this. And then definitions kind of go along with the update. But there are a few 160D definitions that we seem to have missed when we updated that a while back, so I did include those. I already talked about this. So I'm going to start with 2, though. Article 2, there is a section about lot requirements and dimensions, and there's also very similar standards in the subdivision code dealing with lots. So I lumped them together in Article 10. They're being moved to 10.110.1.4 under lots. And then there's a section on driveways in Article 2 that really belong with the driveways in Article 10. So bringing those together. And then section 2.2.1 deals with the site visibility triangle. That is just a regulation that says at street corners and driveways, you need to have landscaping low and no obstructions to keep clear views. DOT has a standard for that. We had a different standard for that. I'm referencing the DOT standard, and there's also going to be the similar reference in the engineering standards. So we're not going to have 2 different standards out there, just relying on DOT. And then I'm updating the sidewalk section, section 2.22. We have in the PED plan, we have a requirement, rather than a sidewalk along a highway, there are some places where we'll be requesting a trail instead. So I'm including that in here to align with the new PED plan. And also, there are often situations where there's no room in the right-of-way, but we'll take a trail or a sidewalk on the development property in an easement. So I'm updating the standard to include that language. And then also just referencing the manual. So that is, and there's a section on dumpsters, but there's also a section on dumpsters in the Article 10. So again, bringing them together with one standard instead of having 2 different ones. And those are the changes to Article 2. And then moving on to Article 10, performance standards. Just as a summary, there's some large chunks of text that are really hard to read. You get kind of lost in the words and you may miss the actual regulation, so I'm breaking them out into separate bullets, essentially. The changes do require new residential driveways to be paved with a improved surface such as bituminous or concrete. This does exempt the R28 because most of those are out in the ETJ and are really more rural lots. So there's no pavement requirement for that. Adding a standard for semi-tractor trailer parking. Sometimes we do have businesses that carve out a place for those type of vehicles to park on their property, such as hotels or fast food restaurants. Just want to make sure there's a standard for that. Updates the parking lots with more than 4 spaces requirements. A lot of the language in that section left a lot of uncertainty to people who read it, and it became a point of having to argue about what it actually means. So trying to bring clarity to it, clarifying, updating curbing requirements, updating the wheel bumper requirements. Throughout the whole document, there are sections that say these ordinances can be, you can apply for a variance to get around these ordinances, which isn't really a true statement. Anyone can apply for a variance, but there are strict standards for a variance. And it's not like we should be inviting people to apply for variances. The right exists. It's in the code already. So I've pretty much did away with those sections that more or less try to invite everyone to think they can get a variance. Article 10.210 adds an ability to waive lateral access requirements when there's no public benefit or it's not feasible. Currently, it talks about Board of Adjustments, and it requires a lot of time and waiting. We have administrative site plan review, and it makes sense as part of that review for the administrator, me, to make some decisions regarding the feasibility of a lateral access, and if they want to fight that, then they can go to the Board of Adjustments for disagreeing with the administrator's judgment, which is a right they have. Again, appeals are already codified, so that's just struck from the language. I don't know if there's any particular language you want to discuss. I've got the long form document in front of me. Any questions on any of that?
Stephen, I know it for a while there was a problem with on the communicated update. So with all these changes, which are so specific, how fast will this go on the website now? Is it
As
faster
soon
than
as it gets signed, we actually put the signed ordinance on our website, and then in a month or every quarter, it gets codified into the Muni Code online.
Okay, that's great.
So we're getting our first codified quarterly update probably in the next week or two. If there's no questions on those standards,
Any additional questions for Stephen or comments?
I had a quick question on section 221, the street intersection visibility triangle.
yeah,
I know you're referencing the NCDOT requirements, and before we had a diagram of what that was. I mean, would it be possible to put what that is in here?
that'll be in the engineering standards.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a draft of that in the engineering standards. Again, not yet finalized, but hope to have it soon. Thank you.
Any
Here,
other-
I have one
Yes, sir.
question. Mr. Winsman, I don't remember exactly what the order of business was. There was a time when there was a discussion about the appeal process coming from the Board of Adjustments, whereas the council didn't have any influence on that. How does that work? Have you changed that?
No, that's already in the code. So if there's a variance or an appeal, it goes to the Board of Adjustments. And the Board of Adjustments is a separate body, and they have finding of fact they need to follow for variances. For appeals, they just need to, as a group, decide whether they agree with staff or agree with the applicant.
But well, I guess that's what my question, if that was a disagreement there, the next step ends up in the court, doesn't it?
Then it goes to Superior Court, or Superior Court,
Before the council could potentially even hear the case. I guess it depends on what it is. Something related to a sign, I remember. I don't know. I have to look it up. Thank you.
So it's just in the statute, though.
yeah, we just followed statute.
Why, I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Yep. I did want to point out under minimum and maximum parking requirements, I did make a change for, I know we had some issues with multifamily parking. Pretty much every development that comes in, council's added additional parking requirements above and beyond what the standards were. That is with conditional zoning. And I got this from the Clayton Code, and it looked like a pretty good, they've got a one-bedroom at 1.5 spaces per unit, and then 2 bedrooms or more, it's 2 spaces per unit plus 1 guest parking space per 4 units. So we had no guest parking requirement. Ours broke down 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. So now it's just 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms or more. Seemed like a little more robust standard.
Two
And-
bedrooms can have 5 cars.
2 bedrooms is 2 spaces plus 1 guest parking space per every 4 units.
3 cars.
Essentially 3 cars, yeah. I mean, that's, generally, the trend has been towards less parking, but given where we are to the metro and
Every
types of
teenager-
developments we have, it's just not a reality.
Every teenager's got a car.
That's right. And then also, under restaurants, we had it as 150 square feet enclosed floor space, 1 space for every 150 square feet of enclosed floor space. Rather, it's now changed to 1 space per every 3 seats, including outdoor seats. So really tying it to the number of guests rather than square foot area. It seemed like a better standard. And that was actually suggested by a resident, the resident developer. So moving on, and you guys stop me when you had enough for the night?
Steve, one
Yes.
question. I guess on page 36, where it's talking about lot width and depth, the lot sizes are defined in Article 8?
Correct.
So nothing under this. It's just referring back to
Just referring back.
because of the streets, because it's tied it in with streets. Okay.
That's right.
What's our current minimum lot size minimum?
We have 8,000 square feet in the R8.
Okay.
R6 is 6,000 square feet. And you want to know the widths?
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
And of course, conditional zoning, people
Well-
are able to vary from that,
Right.
but with a plan and with the council's approval. Okay?
I had a question about the parking again, for the 2-bedroom house, or unit rather. If there were 4 units, that'd be roughly 2.25 per unit, correct?
Yeah, we round up or round down.
And right now, we have 1.75 for a 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
But if somebody has a 3-bedroom now, it's still gonna be 2 plus.
Yeah.
Three bedrooms is gonna be how many cars?
The number of bedroom, however, depending on however many 3-bedroom units or 2 bedrooms or more units, you're required to have 2 cars, plus a guest.
A guest for 4 units, so.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
A quarter.
That's right. Again, we'll round up or round down, to 0 or all the way up to a whole space. The intent is really just to get some guest parking as part of the standard, because that's the norm. The way these developments are coming together, there's really no place to park a car unless you have guest parking, and the streets are typically narrow. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Stephen at this time?
Again, I'm not going to ask for a decision tonight. I'm just going to give you a brief overview, and you'll have a chance to ask questions again if in the preceding meetings you want to come back and revisit a standard, we can. But I just want to make sure you guys understand what the changes are, have time to digest it, and then once I have the engineering standards in front of you as well, we can make a decision.
So it is a public hearing though, right? So if there's anyone in the audience that has any questions or would like to speak on the matter, come forward at this time. Okay, not seeing any.
Mayor, I move we close the public hearing.
A motion, and a second. A motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor? All right. So planning director, as he indicated, is just kind of wanted to present this to us, and maybe we have a little bit more time to digest it and make sure that we in agreement with it and don't have any other other comments or suggestions and so forth, of course, the council could adopt it tonight if they're ready, but I think I'm seeing most people would rather maybe
I
hold
mean,
off
I could
on it.
continue more standards, but we can save it for another night if you like.
Yeah. So do I have a motion on it to maybe postpone it? Or- Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I've closed the public hearing, but well, I mean, is it on this matter?
Exactly what he's talking about. I'm actually dealing with that. My daughter just bought her home.
Uh-huh. If you don't mind, come to the front, if you don't mind, and state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Kendall Altman.
Mm-hmm.
But my address is actually in Garner.
Okay.
My daughter actually lives in Clayton.
Mm-hmm, that's fine.
And going back and forth to her home now, we have the same problem that you're talking about right now. And it's almost, people are getting ready to, get kind of wild out there. So, we problems out where I say Clayton right here. And I'm glad that you all have thought about this situation. I think it's absolutely awesome. So I just want to let you know, thank you, sir. You're talking about the narrow streets. Ain't nothing that I want to try. I just want to see what's going to happen with this, and I just didn't want to see any problems in that area. And thank God for you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, so do I have a motion on this?
Mayor, I think we should spend some more time discussing this. If you need a motion, I mean, perhaps we could have a workshop or something to review a little more detail, but whatever works. I don't know what your timeline is exactly. I mean, it's been an ongoing process for years.
No specific timeline. I mean, obviously, when the engineering standards are complete, we got growth, and more is going to come when sewer comes, so I really would like to have this done next 2-3 months, but I'd like to have it done.
I get a motion to maybe just
Motion to
table for...
table it for further discussion?
Yeah. Okay. No, we can bring it back up. So I've got a motion to table. Have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. We'll move now to citizens' comments. Anyone wishing to speak during citizens' comments, if you will, please come forward at this time. And I will ask that you state your name and address for the record. And I will ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. But, yes, sir.
My name is Mike Reddick. I was a resident of Smithfield, but now I live in Wilson, but I'm here 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, so I might as well move back to Smithfield. But I'm here because of you gentlemen. Y'all have did a great job for the Johnson Central Alumni Association, for the food bank, and for the children program we hold over at this time. The fire department, the police department, the recreation department have been to our place over several times, doing something for these kids and the food bank. And I'd like to thank you all for giving them the time to come over there, as they do all. We even had a policeman to stop and go to work, and I couldn't believe it. It was great, and everybody enjoyed it. But the biggest thing of all is your fire department. They came over today and put on a demonstration for the kids. It was lovely. And I had found out something that I didn't know, and I'm pretty sure some of you don't know. Mr. Jeremy Daughtry, you come forward, please.
Oh, Lord. Well, you done, Jeremy.
I have talked to him for 2 years on doing things, and he steps right up like he's my brother. And I found out something about him that he knew, and I found out it too. Today is his birthday. And so all the kids from the feeding program got together and gave you a birthday card. I was going to bring the kids, but there's nowhere for them to sit. Thank you very much. Thank you. And to the council, I'd like to introduce you to people that's working over there doing this work for the kids and the food bank. I have my assistant director, Ken Altman. I have my coordinator, Sheldon Eason. Stand, please. have one of my workers right here, Ethan, and the two young ladies sitting in the back there, they are the feeders. They feed the kids. 3 meals a day. So we love it, and I hope you love it too.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick, and to everybody for what you do. That's a very important program, and thank you very much for what you do. And Chief, happy birthday again, sir. All right, yes, ma'am. If you will, please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the chair of the council meeting. My name is Alice Fayho DeVitt. I reside here in Smithfield, been a resident here for past 6-7 years. What brings me to the meeting tonight is that on 3/19, first of all, I'm a law-abiding citizen for the past 21 years. What brings me to the meeting tonight is that on 3/19, my home was forcibly invaded by these 3 officers here. I understand we don't have a chief of police, and I was incarcerated, I feel, unlawfully, has forced me into hardship. I'm the grandmother of 8 grandkids, member of St. Peter's Disciple Church since I've been a resident here in Smithfield, North Carolina. My home was forced invaded, and first thing I did was show these 3 officers that I'm a senior citizen, I'm disabled, and they came into my home anyway, drugged me out of my home, scant me up. This is my first meeting I attended, and I was touched when y'all started out with prayer. I'm a member, believer myself, and as I stated, we don't have a chief of police. I then spoke to State Bureau of Investigations, trying to get accountability. I was taken from my home in handcuffs, publicly embarrassed. I was drugged down my street at 503 Bridge Street for the public to watch. My neighbors watched on, and it then forced me into hardship. I have video, audio of this incident. I also have it documented at the Johnston County Emergency Department. It's also documented a second time after I got to our Johnston County Jail Detention Center the first time. This officer here, Joey Youngs, ordered Lieutenant Cooks, the jailer down here at the Johnston County Jail, to continue the assault on me. Well, I bonded out on a $25,000 bond. Supposed to went to court on 4/6. Couldn't go to court on 4/6 because I was assaulted and injured inside our Johnston County holding cell to the point where I guess they was embarrassed to take me, but I was supposed to went to court on 4/6, didn't go. I got arrested 3 times on the same charge. I think more importantly about this is that we have Animal Patrol officer here in Smithfield, North Carolina. I have never received 1 complaint, 1 ticket, 1 citation. Those are my grandkids, dog. I'm a widow. I live alone. The dogs are just like a little burglar alarm, during the nighttime. But however, I found out it was my next door neighbor trying to breed my bulldog with her dog, wind up while I was incarcerated and in y'all care. She didn't have a litter of puppies, but neither here or there. I have 3 complaints that I filed from the first incident with telling them they didn't have a warrant. They call it a free text warrant. From my time, the 21 days that I spent in the Johnston County Jail, I also was assaulted by 2 male guards while I was there. All this is documented. I kept a daily journal. I then spoke with Mr. JJ about the incident, who never responded to any of my complaints since I've been released. I spoke to Mr. Carson, who's looking into it, everything in our Johnston County Jail. Like I said, it's been 21 years since I had an infraction with the law, but everything I say is documented on those cameras. And for the record, my dog's not vicious nor aggressive, nor am I. Only thing vicious or aggressive is these 3 officers who, after speaking with State Bureau of Investigation, Ms. Susan Doyle is our elected DA. I've been in constant contact with Ms. Michelle Ball, which State Bureau investigation said it has to come from Susan Dole, who I have not been able to contact. She's supposed to came back in the office on the 10th today. I want State Bureau called in, because like I said, I was assaulted inside a government facility I think I caught a malicious assault on a government official after a male guard unlocked the locked bullpen on me, and you come around through a process, but after I got up in holding, I was taken back downstairs and I was physically assaulted by Male Officer Johnson, and this is where I am. I just wanted to expose what's going on, and I still have not received my letter pertaining through my 3 complaints that has been accepted for internal investigation. I have not received a letter, but I find myself going to court to face charges that these officers put against me, and come to find out these 2 aren't here anymore. Those are the 2 that came in my home without a warrant. Ethic and moral is doing the right thing when nobody is watching. Clearly, these guys done the wrong thing. And like I said, they don't get to go to another precinct and assault somebody else. I'm 59 years old. I ain't fought none of these officers. I want my day in court, and I want them held accountable. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fick. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. If you will, please state your name and address for the record. And I'll ask you to hold your comments to 3 minutes if possible.
Yes, sir. Okay, so my name is Elisa Bazell. I reside in South Smith, I guess it's called South Smithfield, down the street. My mother lives on Martin Luther King. I've been before, talked about it before, still going on. The traffic coming down that road, Martin Luther King, it's like an open speedway. I would sit on her porch and watch people come down and pass each other coming down that road, to the point that I'm scared that one day it's gonna cause a bad accident and one of those cars is gonna jump a curb or something, and somebody is gonna get seriously hurt between the children and the elderly people. Putting that sign up, that little speed limit sign, that don't do nothing. They see it, they slow down, and they pick right back up. Something has got to be done. I don't know if the road belongs to the state of North Carolina, if it belongs to Smithfield, but somebody's got to do something, because they are afraid down there. Those people, and it's mostly elderly people down there, they're afraid. Just coming out and getting in the cars, because there's no parking spaces, you have to park on the side of the road. So between the trucks coming down and the people speeding, whether it's on motorcycles or cars, there's been cars, and just so you know, there's police officers that come down that road from other towns, like they on a speedway. Something has got to be done before somebody seriously gets hurt. I don't want it to get to a point where some child or elderly person gets killed because people don't know that that's not a open highway, it's a residential road. I know it's a major thoroughfare going down to the college, but something has got to be done.
Great.
Don't know what it could be. I know we can't put speed bumps all over the town of Smithfield, but something has literally got to be done to that road before somebody actually gets hurt or killed.
Yep, thank you, and I agree. I've witnessed it personally when at the cleanup days, and Councilman Lee and myself have been over there, and I've seen it, and I think I mentioned it to Councilman Lee one time, so I know, because I saw it. I was like, good gracious, they're flying. So, Chief, can we look into that, please, sir? And, okay. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good evening. My name's Gary Stewart. I live at 520 South 5th Street. And I just want to come and thank the council for approving the conversion of 2 tennis courts at the Smithfield Community Park and the 6 pickleball courts coming soon. I've been working with Gary, and we're putting on our first tournament in Smithfield. I play pickleball. I'm a USA pickleball ambassador, but I always have to go to Raleigh or Fayetteville or Wilson to get good competition. But I'm thinking that once these 6 courts are coming, because more competitive players prefer to play outside, I think I'm excited about any way I could help to build the the level of pickleball up in this area, so I won't have to travel to Raleigh. But I just wanted to thank you guys for approving that.
Yep, outstanding. No, thank you. Do you offer private lessons?
Yes.
Because I hear about pickleball all the time, right, and everything, and I don't know how to play, but I think I'm going to have to learn how to play.
One thing about pickleball, it's a very inclusive sport for all ages, races, physical abilities, and it's a game you can learn pretty quickly. It's hard to master, but to get out there to be able to play a good game, it's not that hard to do.
Great. Well, then I might be able to do it then.
Thank
you. Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak during citizens' comments, please come forward at this time. Okay. I'm not seeing any, so now we will move on to our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. We will now move to our business items. Our first business item is on page 147 of your agenda package. So, consideration and request for approval to adopt resolution number 730 to begin the process to permanently close a 50-foot wide by 200-foot long section of an unimproved public right-of-way known as Rosewood Drive. Stephen?
Sure. I don't have a presentation for this, but I'll just briefly describe the situation. We have a resident that's requested this closure. It's an unused segment of the right-of-way. Basically, it's an extension of Rosewood Drive that's presently built. It's between this resident's home property and then the town of Smithfield FEMA lots that we've acquired over the years. So it's an unused section of right-of-way. It's about 150 feet long, 60 feet wide. Once it's closed, each resident on either side will get half of it. It serves no purpose. There's no utilities. It's never been built on. And this is just a resolution to say the town intends to close it, and then there'll be a public hearing in the following month. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Stephen?
There is a map and a picture of it on page 160 of your agenda, if you want to get a kind of a visual on what we're talking about. It's a green space right now and has always been a green space. So.
Do we think that we had that for, what's the purpose?
I believe originally they planned to build it. They probably looked and back then they maybe didn't have a lot of data.
Right.
And once they went to build lots, it goes down into a low area
Yeah.
and didn't really serve a purpose.
Yeah. It's very low. I used to walk to school right through there and you go down, so, okay. Thank you. Any other questions or anything for Stephen? All right.
Mayor, I make a motion, we approve Resolution 730, intent to permanently close portion of Rosewood Drive, east of South Crescent Drive.
Second. A motion and a second to approve the resolution. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Thank
There
you,
will
sir.
be a public hearing notice sent out, and it'll be advertised before the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. We'll now move on to our next business item, which is consideration and request for approval to enter into an agreement with NCDOT for the relocation of underground utilities and construction of a water line associated with the I-95 and US 70 Business Highway Improvement Project. Mr. Manager, I guess that's you, sir. You're serving us Ted tonight.
That's correct. I'll do my best to have the same
I hope
sense of
I hope
humor.
you got a shorter presentation than he normally delivers. I'm just kidding, sir. This is very important and very valuable to us, so.
Well, and it's good information, too. As everybody's aware, we're looking at changing the entire interchange system out at Market Street and 95. It's been in the works for quite some time, actually since 2018. Due to the economy and COVID and everything else, it's been just kind of sitting out there. And now DOT is ready to start moving forward with it. So when we have this type of road construction project, the town has some responsibility to move any utilities out of the right-of-way so that the road can be expanded or moved. DOT picks up 75% of that, and the town picks up the other 25%. And it's a pretty good deal, because when they're relocated, that means that when they're coming back, they're not taking the old lines up and moving them, we're actually putting in new lines for that. So this request is to allow DOT to move the lines for us as part of their contract to redo this interchange. Also add a water line for us in East Smithfield, which we were going to add as it builds a new road over on that section of town on the opposite side, on the far side of I-95. But it does come at a cost of a little over $1 million to us. So I'll kind of go through what that does. Also, the let date for this project is this coming October, so that's why we're in front of you today asking for this approval. So the smallest section of relocation is going to take place kind of in front of the sheet store on Market Street where the road's going to be widened. That's just a 2-inch service, and it shows up on the map here, as well as a small section closer to the interchange. This is the biggest portion of the relocation. This goes from where over the interchange, over the bridge, all the way almost to where Panera Bread is. And you can see the fun configuration there we're going to have to, where the engineering, both ours and DOT's working together, feel like the water lines need to go. That is an 8-inch water line that is going to be replaced and moved throughout that area. They're also, right now off of that interchange, you have the ability to come right off the exit and go into what used to be that Howard Johnson's Hotel in that area back there. That will no longer be there. They will not allow, with DOT's specifications today, any access off of a ramp. So since they can't go off the ramp anymore, they're going to build this connector road, which is going to run from Market Street all the way over to Mallard Road, and that is where the access will come off of to get back to the hotel. Now, DOT's building the road, DOT's paying for the road, but it behooves us that while they're tearing it up and they're building it, to lay the water line in there at the same time. That's going to allow us to have water access on the far side of I-95 that we currently don't have. And in your budget the last 3 years, you've been approving money going into a capital project fund for East Smithfield water improvements, and this is part of that. So this is a planned expenditure. It's not anything new. It's something that we've been working on. We didn't know when it was going to come to fruition, but it's moving ahead now. This is the right side here would connect with what the map on the previous page, and then it connects all the way over to Mallard Road. And this is a 12-inch water line that will be laid in from Market Street all the way over to Mallard Road as you see it here. So to summarize, the cost is about $1.14 million estimated by DOT. This is money that we would have to agree to spend to relocate the lines and add the new water line. This money would come due when the project is finished. We wouldn't pay it up front. We'll pay whatever the cost is at the end of the project, which is estimated to be in 2025. Right now, the money that we have been putting away, we have $730,000 in capital project funds for East Smithfield water line improvements. Shorts us about $300,000. It's $350,000 here, but $350,000 puts us about $65,000 over top of the $1.14 million. But we still do have to do some additional project design for that line to go along the new DOT connector road. We don't have a name for that road yet since it's a brand-new road, so all we're doing is calling it Connector Road. At some point, I'm sure DOT will come back and want us to provide input on what to name that road. Again, funds aren't due until completion, which is estimated to be in the fall of 2025. So we have the $730,000 there now. We don't have to make the expenditure until fall of 2025. So we will budget in next year for fiscal year 25 the additional funds to make up for this difference between the 1.14 and the 730 that we, or yeah, 730,000 that we currently have. And again, this is something that we knew was coming. And we've been wanting to make sure with the Eastfield project that we thought was going to come to fruition, this was the way to get the water over to that area of town. Now, Eastfield, I'm not sorry. Stephen, help me out. Woodleaf, yes. With the Woodleaf project has kind of stalled, but we do believe that there's parcels over there now that are going to develop and they are going to need water. And that's one of the reasons we expand the water plant so that we can provide water and grow our town. So this is right all along with the plans that we have created. So we're asking to approve the agreement as in your packet. Starts on page 161, so that we can enter into the agreement with DOT and they can begin to let the project and start construction.
Any questions for the manager?
I have a couple of questions. Mr. Scott, based on your presentation, it's geographically over a large area out there.
Yes.
Are they doing it in phases, or are they planning, this is not going to be one
This
project?
is all one project.
Any other questions?
How long have we been setting money aside for this? I can't
This is the third year.
It was about 210 a year.
We did a little, it hasn't been the same amount every year. I think we put 400,000 away one year and then 200 and then I think another 200. But some of that money we've spent out of that capital on East Smithfield projects already. So not all the money that we put in there remains in there because we have allocated some already.
And is this in the water and sewer fund?
Yes,
This capital improvement? water and
Yes.
sewer? Okay.
But we do have 730 in there already.
right now we have 730, our balance is 730.
With no other plans to spend that money.
No, this is the plan,
This project.
yes.
And this agreement with them for the little over $1 million, with construction costs, how likely is that to remain?
We feel pretty confident. DOT's been doing a pretty good job of coming in within budget. You know, they're not doing a design build like we did at the police department. That's when your costs can get out of hand. When you have a contract like we had at the water plant, you're a whole lot more likely to come in within budget.
That was going to be my question. Within comparison of the police expansion, how much was it going to, so.
Any other questions? Comments, thoughts? All right. What's the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion, we approve the request
Second.
as stated.
A motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So, Mr. Commissioner, I want to publicly thank the commissioners for the contribution, I believe, of $500,000 for the, while we're talking water, for the expansion of the water plant. So I do want to publicly thank you. But also, maybe you could take this back, and any consideration or any help with this water line would also be appreciated as well, sir. I'm not asking. I really do want to thank you for the money, but hey, while I got your ear, right? You know, so, and I know you do what you can for us, so I do appreciate it, sir. All right. Excuse me. Then we'll move on to our next business item. It's consideration and a request for approval to appoint a member of the town council to serve as the appointee and another member of the town council to serve as an alternate to the Johnston County Water Sewer Authority Steering Committee. That is on page 173, I think, basically in the agenda package, right? Mr. Mayor, do you want to say anything on that? I mean, I've got a couple of things I'll say, but I mean.
No, only that this came in front of the council last month when you did approve the resolution to join this committee and have a seat at the table to discuss the possibility of a water and sewer authority for all of Johnston County. And at that time, you tabled, the mayor was not present, so the issue was tabled as to who would be on that committee and who would be a alternate. And that's just coming back to you today to asking you to make that decision.
Okay. All right. And again, as the manager said, this, and as part of that resolution, right, I apologize, I was not at the meeting, but, you know, we are not committing to anything here. This is literally just to begin the process of studying such authority, right? There, you know, as you know, I serve on the Johnston County Mayors Association, and we as the mayors, we actually have a meeting tomorrow night. This has been a topic, right? And we have had a couple of meetings with the county commissioners. Councilman Harris has been part of that, and the chairman, as far as what does it look like, and just exploring that. So this does not bind us to anything, but it also, I think, is at least it's important to look at. So with that, I have spoken with Councilman Scott, and he has agreed to serve as our appointee on the board, and Councilman Stevens has agreed to serve on that committee as the alternate. And then, of course, I'll be attending those meetings as well. But hopefully between the three of us, we'll be able to report back what we learn. You know, but of course, obviously, involvement from each and every one of you is going to be important, right? Because this is huge, and a huge step for the county, right? Whether we agree to be a part of it, what it looks like, who knows? But we all know that as this county grows, as this town grows, water and sewer becomes an issue, and we got to have both of them, right? Especially water. So with that, you know, with your blessings, I'll appoint those two gentlemen, and I thank you two gentlemen for serving on that.
So when was this done? This was a public meeting, so when was this announced?
Tonight. I have the ability to appoint.
Okay, I was just wondering.
As a mayor, right? So.
I was just asking.
So.
Since they already agreed, I was just asking.
Yeah. I asked them, Councilman Lee, as the mayor, and it's my responsibility to make those appointments, right? All right, thank you. All right, we'll now move on to the next item, which is item number 4, discussion concerning the State Transportation Improvement Program. That is on page 177. Stephen?
Just call me.
All right, I serve on the Upper Coastal Plain RPO, which is a Rural Planning Organization's Transportation Committee. It's a staff committee. The mayor sits on the officials committee. But there is a annual or biannual process of determining priority projects for funding at the DOT. It's called the STI process. And they're in the process of now updating what's called the STI P7 list. And I was approached by the leader of the RPO to asking what the town's priorities are. And so I just want to point out the STI funds a number of different projects. They got improvement to Booker Dare Road to Ricks Road, construction access management improvements, basically a super street design. That's been funded. Upgrades to Market Street I-95, which Mike was just talking about, that's been funded. There is a future plan to fund the interchange at Brogden Road as well, so that'll be funded. There's a new bridge over the Neuse River on US 301 South, so that's a project that's been funded. You'll be seeing improvements there. Lee Street, CSX rail crossing safety improvements. So these are projects that have been funded through the STI process. So now they're saying, what do we want for the next list of projects? So there is a list of projects here that already are identified in our region that are on the list. And they include widening US 301 from Galilee Road to Brogden Road, widening US 301 from I-95 to Galilee Road, widening 210 from Black Creek all the way to West Market Street, upgrading Brogden to US 301 South intersection, widening Wilson's Mills, upgrading the intersection, that particular intersection, widening Wilson's Mills Road to a 3-lane from West Market Street to Durwood Stevenson Parkway. I mean, these are on the wish list. And the new one is we've got a pending study, or apparently it's been approved for funding, a study of the downtown parking and the street there in downtown. And so whatever comes out of that study, that's the new one here. They will put that on the list as a fundable project. So I was asked if there are any other additional projects, and from my perspective, I looked at where we're seeing growth and need. The two that came to mind for me was Buffalo Road widening from US 70 bypass to Durwood Stevenson Parkway in front of the East River development, kind of that whole segment in there. That's a project that I believe at one point was discussed for improvements, but there's been no funding for it. So I think that would be an important one to have on the list. And another one would be Brogden Road between the interchange and US 301. They're already looking at the interchange and they're looking at the intersection at 301, but they're not looking at the road in between. We have the new warehouse facility being built right there and accessing that road, and that might be a good candidate. And I guess my question is for the council is, do you agree with those two, and do you see any other projects that should be on the list?
Any thoughts, comments, recommendations?
Again, I want to point out that the projects that become cost-effective and fit within the budget and get prioritized, with the cost effectiveness, get funded. So some projects get broken up. The US 301 project's already been divided in two, so that each one might cost out better. But so far, they've not risen to the top because it's a very expensive project. So, smaller segments do come up with a better cost-effective index.
What is the upgrade to Market Street I-95 interchange? Is that Market Street all the way to the interchange or just the interchange itself? It's already been approved.
That's the interchange that Mike was speaking of.
Yeah, that runs, that entire interchange is going to be redesigned, and the road is going to be widened almost down to where the college is.
Okay, how about from 9th Street to the college? Could that be added to the list?
Which one?
From 9th Street to the college?
301
Yeah, we'll cover, yeah.
to the college.
Oh,
Yeah, as soon as you go up on the railroad tracks to the college or out to 7th.
the Market Street between 301 and the interchange?
On Market Street, between the college and 301, I
Yeah.
think is what he's saying.
In other words, it'd be 4-lane the whole way, potentially.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, our transportation plan talks about 3 or 4-lane. It doesn't specify which.
Okay.
And that would be a lot of land taken from those businesses, which has been kind of the issue.
Well, the biggest hurdle would be that underpass.
The underpass. Yeah, even they could just clean up the underpass.
Yeah, I believe that underpass is on a list, but again, it doesn't cost well.
Right, I mean, could you relate to them that just clean, I know there has been, but in this conversation, could you at least relate to them that maybe they could just come clean it up and cut back the bushes a little bit, because they won't let us touch it?
We can certainly pass the
Just go do
information.
it.
Yeah, I know we have, I know.
We wouldn't do it again.
It's a big giant eyesore coming into town.
So I do serve on this Upper Coastal Planning organization. So this is one thing that I do have to vote on and so forth. So if you don't have any recommendations or anything for changes, and you think about something that you do want to add, please make sure you get with me on it, because it is very important from a planning. These projects take a long time. So we put things on here, and then they may come to fruition 15 to 20 years later, right? But every year they look at them and they score them and they rank them, right? And so if there are others, please either reach out to Stephen or staff or let me know. Well, I'd ask you to reach out to Stephen and let me know, because he'll be the one that, or Mike, that makes that formal request. I want to make it so I can make sure that I get it in and get it onto the list. But certainly, it's a very important document for planning and planning for the future. So.
Mayor, I'll comment on that. He mentioned the Buffalo Road out the Interstate 42 is what it will become. That is going to be a gateway to Smithfield.
Yes.
And I feel like that is, I know all these projects are important, but that's definitely one. There's already enormous amount of traffic on that road, and it's going to be a gateway, essentially, to that side of town. And I agree with Councilman Rabel that from 8th all the way out to the college, that's always been, it's very busy, especially if you're out there about 5 o'clock. But if that could be improved, but we know what the hurdles are going to be there, but those are very important, aside from the ones you've already mentioned.
Are we in agreement with those 2 projects and 1 additional? Is that what I'm hearing? And then I'll wait and see if there's any additional comments, but.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any other. The additional one, is that the one you were talking about from?
Market Street.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we would need to understand what that means, just widening or whatever, but yeah. Okay. Say so. Okay. All right.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, now we will move on. I believe is that it, correct? I want to make sure we had some changes, right? But we didn't. It was all to the consent agenda and so forth. Okay. All right, now we will move on to council members' comments. Anyone on the council wishing to speak at this time?
Mayor, just a business, this budget amendments was the updated copy that was passed with our consent.
That
The
is
clerk
correct.
got this.
The one at your plate, should be the updated copy,
Yes.
correct?
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to make sure.
I was a little confused at that at first as well. Yep. Okay. Any other comments from the council at this time?
Yeah, I got a few, Mr. Mayor. First of all, good to see Mr. Charles Williams here tonight, a former councilman. I'm glad he was able to stop by tonight. Ms. Bazell kind of came in and took a little thunder, but she's definitely right with MLK from that stretch of road. And even as busy as Smith Collins Park across the street to the splash pad, I know a couple of weeks ago we had a sign that was knocked down. I guess it was finally put back up, but I mean, that little thoroughfare right there, I mean, kids crossing, going back and forth the street, I mean, we got to do something right there. I mean, it's an issue up until, it gets cold anyway, and I don't think the sign is going to be an issue. I know it's a little walkway, but them people still flying through there. It's something real bad and also happened on that end also. So, I mean, I know we already got speed bumps near around the corner, but we just need to look at something. I mean, especially up until the splash pad closes, because kids are going back and forth. Also, last week, Smithfield-Selma High School named a new principal, whatever. So I just like to kudos to Mr. David Allen for what he did for Triple S. But they did name a young lady who was at the Innovation Academy who did a lot over in East Smithfield, Ms. Crystal Gregory. I did talk to her today, and she was just getting back from vacation, and she will come to a meeting one night just to kind of, say hello and, get her acclimated still with the community or whatever. Last week I was in Town Hall, and I did see Skip Green here, so I just want to ask Mr. Manager if we got any updates still on the CBDG grant and what's going on in East Smithfield, if there's.
Yeah, when you saw him here, he was here as part of an audit that was being conducted by the Department of Commerce, the representatives of CDBG. Went through all of our paperwork, went through all of the projects that we have gone through, the money that has been spent, how everything was bid. As normal with these type of audits, they found a few things that they would like to see us improve upon, mostly just procedural, as far as following the federal guidelines as opposed to state guidelines. And we'll make those changes. As far as our construction projects go, we're down to one house that is has a punch list left to be completed. We anticipate that it should be completed, if not this week, next week. I think the only thing that's really left is the countertop that came in, and when they tried to put the countertop in, they cracked it, and they're trying to get that either fixed or replaced. We have 2 total reconstructions where the homes were raised, and so we have empty lots and 2 total constructions going on right now, and that's our big emphasis. We anticipate those should be done September, October timeframe. We have one of those 2 houses has a very difficult time getting the foundation put in because of how wet it is there. Not really sure why that is, but it seems like if there's a stream underneath the ground or what the issue is, we're trying to get that resolved. But that's where we're at right now. We have the 2 homes left, 1 home left to be completed, which is just a short punch list left. And that home will be inspected and taken off the books. So primarily, it's the 2 reconstructions that we're focusing on right now.
And lastly, about 30 seconds, you can give us, there's some residents or people that have residents in Pine Acres, anything on the RV park?
Nothing that I can discuss publicly.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any others?
Mayor, I have a couple comments. First, I want to say thank you to all those who participated in our festivities for the Independence Day celebration. This one was very well attended. The amphitheater was a big hit. Sarah and your staff, thank you. The other thing I want to comment on is tonight we had kind of a busy agenda, but there was a couple things that the county commissioners did for the towns. One of those is a contract was approved for interlocal agreement tonight within our consent agenda on page 107. And I just want to call the council's attention to that. I've been following this for a while, and I'm very thankful. This brings an additional $214,000 revenue into our town, and the intent, based on the conversations and the plan, is for that to be reoccurring money. And I just want to make sure that the council puts emphasis on that. This is fire tax money. It's primarily rural district money, but their intent is to make the system better overall. We've been serving with the rural district for years, but I just want to make sure that we pay note of that, and specifically, I think it's part of our due diligence is to come up with a plan looking at the capital improvement plan, the outlay that the fire department has in place. So make sure we can meet those needs. And the number one thing is always staffing. And it always is one of the things that we struggle with as council and as staff to fund because it's a reoccurring expense. But with the intent of this money to be reoccurring at the blessing from the county, just want to make sure that we discuss that and plan to get that right. I know we're working on our interim fire chief and looking at a permanent fire chief. I thank Jeremy for stepping up to help us with that. But I just think it's important that we have a plan. That is a huge blessing, and thank you to the Cook County for that. All tax dollars are not created equal when you look at the assessments of the districts, and their intent is to take that large district and make it serve others well. And I'm very, very thankful for that. I don't have all the details, but I do know that there's been a lot of work, and this has been years in the planning. I just want to make sure I pointed that out.
Absolutely. Anyone else? I did want to echo that, Councilman Scott. I did actually meet with interim chief, Dr. Ian, just to kind of have him kind of explain it to me. I'd heard high level, and the chairman had kind of given us an update on it, chairman of the commissioners at one of our mayor's meetings and so forth, but I really didn't understand the workings of it, right, and the whole, what did that matrix approach mean? So the chief was gracious enough to give me a tutorial on it, and thank you, and to the county commissioners. It looks like it's a win-win for the county, and yeah, thank you, and I agree.
Mayor,
we
one other
need to have
point
that plan.
that I would like to add to that. You're absolutely correct. Looking at it from a perspective of what we can do, we all know limited knowledge about ISO inspection. We covered that this year. But that scoring affects the insurance rating of businesses, and we were marginal from making it to the level of 2. With this change, I'm certainly that we'll be able to do that, but we've got to catch up.
Yep, I agree. And again, hats off to Sarah and the team of Sarah for the 4th of July festivities. It was a hot weekend, but it was a great weekend and very, very well attended. Hey, we had some hiccups and so forth, and we'll take those under advisement, and we'll always look to make improvements. But Sarah, I saw you out there. Very, very long day, and I do want to say that was huge, and it was a great success, right? And so just want to say thank you for that as well. Yes, thank you. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is kind of the elephant in the room, right? As you all know, this is a campaign, the beginning of a campaign season, and I just want to assure the staff and the citizens of Smithfield that it is my utmost intent to continue to conduct my job as a mayor and to continue to conduct our meetings in a highly professional and efficient and orderly manner. with the interest of all the citizens at heart and at the very forefront. And I truly believe that each member of this council believes the same. So I just wanted to put that out there. So thank you very much, Mr. Manager. I will turn it over to you now for your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few things tonight. Just some scheduled events coming up. On Saturday, at Smith Collins Park from 1 to 4 o'clock, we have Fun in the Park, an annual event that's been very successful, spearheaded by Councilman Lee, and I'm assisted with by the police department. We also have the River Rat Regatta scheduled for August 12th. It's also an annual event, a nice event downtown. Should bring some people in. Hopefully, we'll have good weather and low water, and another enjoyable afternoon. A reminder that the August council meeting is being moved back to August 8th from August 1st. We also have a planned power outage for July 23rd right now from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning. So this will be at night. This is going to affect people north of Sanders Street all the way to Kelly Drive and from the railroad to the river. So quite a few people impacted. You're going to lose power for those 4 hours in the morning or late night hours so that Duke Energy can update substation there by Hospital Road. So it is a required outage. If by chance it rains, it won't be safe for them to update that substation in the rain. So this would be moved to July 30th rather than the 23rd. Also, draw your attention to the South Smithfield Water District, same area that we had a one-day boil order for last week. That area is going to undergo a change in the way the county purifies the water there. That's going to be an improvement, and it's going to take place on the 17th of July. It doesn't really require the people who are in that district to do anything other than to realize if they have some discoloration or some additional smell to their water, that's why it's this change. It will work its way out as the water goes through the pipes and the change takes place. So just notifying residents of that possibility in the South Smithfield Water District. We also, as the reason for our council meeting change on from August 1st to August 8th is because of National Night Out. National Night Out is a great event. It's been a good event the last few years, well attended. It's taking place this year at Johnson Community College from 5 to 8 p.m., put on by the police department. Please try to come out, support the police department, show, bring your children. There'll be a lot of things for them to do. Let them meet the officers. Let them see the police apparatus that's out there. Let them see what the boys and girls in blue really do for this community. And in light of that, Mr. Mayor, I was looking at page 223 of your agenda tonight. That is the offenses reported to the Uniform Crime Report by our police department. They do not set the criteria for those reports. They are created by the federal government, depending on the types of calls that come in. And I couldn't help but notice that our police department, even though they are short staffing right now, so far year to date, over half the year gone, our crime is actually down by 15% compared to last year. That includes our assaults being down 25%, our burglaries being down 27%, our larcenies down by 8%, our simple assaults down 32%. These men and women are working for us very hard, and they are giving you 110% every day. probably more than that with the shortages. They don't complain. They show up every day. And I just want to give them a shout out and appreciation for the hard work that they're doing, and their dedication to service to everybody in this room and everybody in the community. So thank you, Chief Grady, and please thank your people for us. That's all I have.
Absolutely. Good news. Thank you. So we do need to go into closed session at this time. There's one thing I did fail to mention, and I just wanted to pass along to the council and to the people that were here. We did have WTVD ABC 11 here in town today, shooting a segment on Smithfield and on their Boomtown segment. So we're looking forward to that being aired maybe sometime next week. Either next Tuesday or Wednesday, so be on the lookout for that. So it was some pretty decent coverage, not decent coverage, some good coverage, I should say. I haven't seen it, right, but some good publicity for the town of Smithfield. So I did want to just mention that before I forgot to do so. So at this time, we do need to go into a closed session. I do believe we will stay in this room, if that's all right with you, gentlemen. So do I have a motion now to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Go into closed session at this time.